Finally, here we are, the last chapter. Thank God we're at it. Okay, I had to take a break. Honestly, I was getting worked up, okay, just by these characters and this book and Trish Morey's writing. And honestly, okay, chapter 13, it's Day of the Wedding. Everything was perfect. Everything looks amazing. And Mackenzie's getting ready, looking beautiful. And then, of course, this is a Pretty Woman ripoff. There's a knock at the door, and it's Adrian. Okay, now Adrian, okay, he's a little smug little bastard. Okay, right, here we are. I was surprised, quite frankly. I was instead of watching the box of flowers. Wondering if he'd me imagine and misinterpreted what just happened. What about? The fire's still hanging around. Now he had a full attention. What are you talking about? Oh no, I thought you'd given up now that your cause is lost. What are you talking about? Do you have a Dante to sleep with him in exchange for him thinking about the future of this fine establishment? That's old news, Adrian. It isn't an issue anymore. Ashton House is saved. Oh, so then, um, no. Aiden says it's closing. So Mackenzie calls down to Natalie on reception to ask, is Ashton House closing? Because no one's told Mackenzie this, even though you'd think that in the flow of activity of wedding coming up, someone would have said, oh, so sad it's going to be our last wedding at Ashton House, but no one has. No one thought to say that to Mackenzie. She's the last person to know, okay? And Natalie's like, yeah, this place is closing. Boom, okay? So Mackenzie is just like, says there's not going to be a wedding, runs off in tears. He lied to her. Well, he's done more than lied to you in the last couple of weeks, hasn't he, Mackenzie? But still. Okay, right. So then Adrian, a little shit stirrer, okay, goes to Dante and it says, oh, well, she's gone. And so Dante calls Natalie, bloody hell, Natalie, on reception and goes, yeah, of course I told her it was closing, it is closing. And then, this is it, okay, this is the, it's here. Right, because Dante decides to go off and find her. Right, this is from Adrian. Are you sure she's worth it? Could you look better than some slapper? Exchange this sex of favours. Right. Dante picked him up and standing up against the bureau before Adrian even knew what hit him. His glass of whiskey fleeing contents into a sweeping golden arc across the room or tumbling down onto the carpet. What do you know about Mackenzie running away? Adrian's eyes are fading helplessly as he shook his head. Me, boss? Nothing. Right. Dante snarled at him, smelling his fear, knowing he was lying. Whatever possessed me to think you'd ever make a best man? Maybe because Dante's got no friends. So he's got asking, he's the guy who works for him because he wouldn't be friends with Dante. Right. I want you out of here. By the time I get back, I never want to see you again. But boss, never. So Adrian's gone. Okay. Right. Right. This bit here. And the fact is, okay, even when doing this shit's going on, okay, Dante is still, now he's blaming Adrian, right? Why did it take him so long to realise Adrian was so off the mark, and yet it'd be like a wake-up call forcing him to realise what she meant to him? She was no slapper. Very really rarely see the word slap in a Mills and Boone novel. Just saying, it's rare. Alright? She was no slapper. Ready to exchange sex for favours. He knew that now. She was a passionate, vibrant woman, the mother of his child, the woman he loved. But was it already too late? Right. And so Mackenzie's back at the house with Misty, her cat. Yeah, Misty, of course. Misty, who hasn't starved to death in the meantime, okay? No. Okay? Right. And then, so Dante comes pounding through the door. Mackenzie, I'm sorry. You know. Right. And so Dante comes in now. Oh, now he's ready to tell his dark and troubled past and ready to say about Ashton House. Right. Right, because no, Adrian is a malicious bastard that actually gets mentioned, but it's not here. I'm not closing it to pull it down, to tilt it ahead, but you are closing it, yes. But why we had a deal? You promised me you'd save Ashton House. You promise, and I don't matter to you. This baby doesn't matter to you. No matter what you say or what you promise, all you're interested in doing is putting Sarah, and Douglas, Jonas Douglas down. Right. Right. Yes, he said, his eyes wild in his flushed face, his neck coiled and tied. That was all I wanted. To pull them down, to make them pay for what they'd done. Okay, right. Yes, this is Dante's dark and troubled past, so common in a Mills and Boon novel. Okay, this is like his justification for being a prick. All right. Okay. So, right. Dante never knew his parents. His mother was young, of Italian descent. Okay, his father, no knowledge of, but probably young too. But his biological family, okay, was so ashamed of him, they put him into foster care. Right. Mhm. Right. Which Mackenzie can't understand, okay, because her parents almost bankrupted themselves, having her in the first place. So, yeah, so she didn't understand that. But anyway, so one day, as Dante's in this foster home, there's like a people at the door who looking for a family for their 2-year-old son, and they pick Dante or Danny. They rename him Danny. Okay, right. This bit here, right. The Douglas family had only had two boys, Jake and Danny Douglas. Jake was the brother killed in a car accident, but Dan disappeared without a trace. You're Danny, aren't you? He looked breathless, and she wanted to reach out and comfort him, to take him into arms and cradle him. This man who had been a boy unwanted, hadn't been totally unwanted. He'd been taken in by one of the wealthiest families around. Sarah and Jonas adopted you, yet this is the way you repaid them? I don't understand. It didn't adopt me, he shouted, jumping to his feet, holding his hands up and down, upside down like claws. They harvested me. They chose a child as they made stairs for their sole purpose of giving their progeny a playmate, a diversion, a distraction. Okay, because Jake was not allowed, okay, to be with other children. Sarah and Douglas was working all day. So Dante's cruel and troubled past, okay, his justification of being the bastard that he is because when he was a toddler, he was basically bought a toy, okay, a companion, a playmate, right? And then on his 17th, um, just by Jake's 17th birthday, okay, right, um, they gave essentially, right. On the night of Jake's birthday party, they told me they didn't need me anymore. They both said I served my purpose, it was time for me to go. They flew you out that very night. They gave me a check for $10,000 and told me not to bother to say goodbye to Jake, because he knew and he didn't care, but just to get him out, just to get out of their lives. They did that to you, but not for telling me my real name wasn't Daniel Douglas, as I couldn't believe in, but Dante Crusoe. Served my hair did have told me that night, but I know it was so that I could have no claim on them, no link, no connection by name with their family that had taken me and to cast me out. My purpose was fulfilled. Okay, well, Jake and Danny, or Dante, raising a cult, there were people, okay, if they went to school together, there were people at the school who would have known them, who would have turned around, okay, and said, yeah, Danny's Dante. So, just the whole of, we were allowed out after school, we were allowed in clubs, okay, but you still went to school, people still knew you. So there wouldn't be like what a vein of secrecy over you. Okay, right. Mhm. Right. About they thought he'd blow the money on I don't know blackjack and hookers. Instead, he went to one way trip to London. Okay, and then just worked and worked and worked. Okay, I've been in my first job 2 years when I learned that Jake had died 3 months before, and only through a tiny article in the newspaper wrapped around my takeaway fish and chips. We don't do that anymore, by the way, in the UK. I just want to say to an Australian writer, we haven't wrapped fish and chips around newspaper. I only paid with my fish and chips in a really long time. Okay? I couldn't believe it. Jake had been the chosen one, the heir. He'd been given everything he wanted and more, yet hadn't done any good. And they'd never let me say goodbye. I should have said goodbye. I know he would never wanted me to leave. Well, in those 2 years, you never tried to contact him, send him an email, explain the situation. Of course not. Of course not. But then Jonas and Sarah, well, obviously Jonas got a gambling addiction. It's all going downhill. Okay, but the plan is for Dante to prove that he's not a horrible bastard after all, even though his actions haven't actually portrayed him in a brilliant light. I think he'd understand. Let's be here. He's going to an Ashton house into a respite care for foster children and their families. Here you go. That's all it is. Right. Would you mind? You made me promise not to close Ashton House, but you never said it had to stay a hotel. What do you think? I think it's the most wonderful idea I've ever heard. So because his brief moments of happiness his entire life was when he was a toddler before he was taken by the Douglases family. Okay, right. Okay, and then obviously you wonder what happened to the cat. Okay, is this woman come along called Miss Jep? Not been mentioned up to this point. Okay, but Miss Jep, okay, who's been in the house the entire time. She's been watching the cat, I reckon. There you go. Okay. Right, okay, yeah, for those no slides change. I had to empty out my phone because I've been talking all day now about this. It's like now like 6 o'clock almost, and I spent all day having to take breaks talking about this godforsaken book. Jesus Christ. So Miss Skip shows up now. Miss Skip, okay, who obviously now been taking care of the cat, right? Is just says casually, "Oh, Dante, well, you'll get mad, but you know something, she stays all night, all the time at that hotel, all the time, okay, all the time, yeah. Thanks for that, Miss Jip. Right, right, okay." And then, so they're driving back to the wedding, okay, they're driving back to actually get married, and then Dante, I don't know, got the realization box from the mysterious Mrs. Jip, okay, so Jep, sorry, okay, right. If you could sit over at the hotel, Miss Jep said so. If I was working late, sure. Didn't make sense to drive all the way home if I was really late or the weather was bad. There was a long pause, like the night I arrived. She stole a lung full of air, hung on to it, and then let it go in a rush, because in the scheme of things, the past didn't matter. She loved this man. The past meant nothing anymore, except whatever demons Dante still had left to put to rest. She gave a brief nod. Yes, exactly like the night you arrived. You weren't waiting for me at all that night, he said. You weren't lying awake to seduce me like you told me before. You were merely just making use of a vacant bed. I didn't believe you. Why? Oh, say class. Yeah, or what? Now what? You believe her now? You know, she even said it. But he didn't believe her then, but I believe her now because the mysterious Miss Jep said so. Oh, great. Cheers. Right. She looked away. She'd given every reason to think what he had, but still the memory of that night, disappointment, the fact he'd written her off so easily and accused her of being nothing more than a whore, was surprisingly still all too real. Okay. I worked late that night preparing the projections for you in preparation for your visit, and with the Melbourne airports closed with the weather, no one figured I'd get there until at least breakfast. I thought you'd never know if I borrowed your bed for a few hours. No expected you to drive instead. Nobody realised what it meant to you. He touched her hand to her neck, cupping at it. I never even bothered to look at those projections. Right. She smiled, feeling her colours rising, sending him a shaky smile, thinking he got a lot more than the night he bargained for. Right. Right. Okay, he found. I accuse you of orchestrating the whole situation. I was so wrong. And I was wrong to take advantage of you to assume you were nothing more than a... Oh no, she said, stopping him with a hand to his lips. Doesn't matter now. You didn't take advantage of me. You didn't. She never consented. He looked away, but gave you no choice. She got hold of his jaw, yanked it around until he faced her. I had a choice. Yes, I was surprised to find you turn up that night. I was shocked and blown away to find a stranger making moves on me, but I had a clear choice. I could have screamed blue murder when I came to. I could have fed from that bed right there and then. But you didn't, and that would be because... She let her hand slide from his jaw and screwed around 90 degrees in the seat. There were some things she couldn't admit face to face. For me, because I didn't want you to stop. Why did you let me do that to you, to put you in that position? Because nobody had ever made me feel as good as you, awake or asleep. What the? And even when I'd woken up and realised who you were, I knew I was risking everything. I couldn't stop myself. I couldn't say no. I wanted to feel more. You thought I was your ex-boyfriend. Yeah, because it felt so different to how I felt with him. He always told me I was an ice queen and feeling uncold. Right. He was an idiot. He tried to smile, tried to fail miserably. He knew I was an IVF baby. He told me that's why I couldn't feel anything with him, because I wasn't a real woman, because I'd been manufactured. Yeah. Right. So that's why she didn't run from her bed that night, because her ex-boyfriend called her, said that she was a fidget, she was an ice queen. Honey, you need therapy. You need absolute therapy for this. That is her justification for not running. And Dante is, I think Paul, he's called her a whore and a sex slave, okay, for this entire book. Sorry, that's a weak ass apology. Right. hmm But of course, again, she needs reassurance, okay, that Dante, like, oh no, you don't need a dream lover anymore, no, because I've got the real thing. And then obviously they get married, okay, and then whatever. This book is a whole lot of absolute mess. It's disgusting. That's on the premise, okay. Dante comes in and essentially finds it empowering, okay, to seduce a woman in her sleep, and he only wakes her up because she says her name Richard. He obviously would have done it. Now, I actually read the first chapter of the manga. There's a manga of this, and in the manga, I won't read any further. She never wakes up. In the actual manga, she never does. She opens her eyes, closes them again. She's fully clothed, by the way. She's wearing like a negligee. And then she wakes the next morning to the, oh, that was an amazing dream, and finds it's Dante in her bed. Yeah, so, no, I didn't read just the first chapter, but yes, this book is a whole lot wrong. Now, the thing is, thanks to the beauty of Google, let me just um, pull up my lovely trusty thing. Now, I found a website, okay, called Feministin, okay. It's by Jodie Mika, okay, written 11 years ago, okay. This book came out in 2008. This book was written 11 years ago. So this article was written 11 years ago, alright? And it's absolutely, it mentions this. I actually just Googled the title and this came up. And this is, first of all, it's a great written article, by the way. Right. But the thing is, this bit here, okay? Right. Right. Heroes grabbing their heroines, forcing them into kisses, throwing them against walls, onto tables, the ground, any variable horizontal surface, tearing their clothes, pushing them into what is often described as forced seduction. This is a shorthand form for denoting the hero as an alpha. By physically dominating the heroines, they convey their power and their ultimate manliness. And the heroines, they like it, as in caps. They're anticipating their own sexual subjugation, okay? And this is a genre written by women for women. Yeah. And also, this is mentioned in Italian boss's Mistress of Revenge, okay? And it's goes into actually some really good detail about consent. Consent is a wussy, is actually like that line, okay? So, this bit here, right, this bit here. Right. They proceed to have earth-shattering to take the wall sex with, and in effect, her consent is a shorthand to negating any crime Dante may have committed, because it was, oh my god, assaulting her because she, oh my god, loved it. It means all the stuff he did while she was asleep, so hot, so right now, because it's so manly and alpha. Yeah. Okay. Right. And before his epic child trauma and thus abdicating him any responsibility for the shitful thing he might have done at any point in his life, and his inner tragic pain is healed by the mystical power of true love. And guess what? I didn't know this, by the way, I just read this here. It's an insulting piece of shit excuse for but won Australian Romance Book of the Year award in the short and sexy category. I don't understand how but it calls itself a romance and a love story can open with an unromantic hate crime. Yes. Thank you. This author says it better than ever could. This is an unromantic hate crime, okay, with no consent, where a woman subjugates herself, okay, in what the form of true love, okay, because she loves him. He showed no way of showing actual love, okay. It's all. It doesn't even ask to marry her. He just announces it. We're getting mad because you're having my child. She's to him. Even afterwards, she's an object. She's a thing. She's a slave. And the fact is, Dad, he even said after they get married, okay, you won't have to work. And this is presented as a good thing? Nuh-uh. The Italian Boss's Mistress of Revenge by Trish Morey. Listen, to the author, what the absolute hell is wrong with you to even write this? Okay? It's disgusting. What? No editor, no proofreader, no one at Mills and Boone HQ, okay, or Harley Quinn. When Red Filter goes, you know something, maybe this is a good concept but needs a little bit of reworking. Nah. It's insulting, patronising, and it's just wrong. So, hey, no, of course I don't recommend again, but you got this far. So I'm going to put a link to the article underneath. Thanks so much, everyone. Obviously, this one's in bits, and oh, thank God this one's over. Anyway, 41 years in Mills and Boone, my first two-parter. Going through book chapter by chapter is exhausting, and I'm signing off here. Bye now.